Very warm welcome to all of you for a very important function, and that is inauguration of Shri PVR and Iyer AMA Center for Research in Management. Our guest of honor, Mr. Shiv Kumar. So may I invite Shri Shiv Kumar to come and address us. Among big round of applause, welcome Mr. Shiv Kumar.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being here this evening for what is clearly a very important event for AMA, IMA, and definitely for myself. AMA, Ahmedabad Management Association, something close to my heart. I think this is the sixth time I'm on this stage over the last few years. I've come here many a time. I'm always truly impressed by their forward-looking initiatives. And today is one such forward-looking initiative thanks to Mr. Iyer, whom I'll speak about later. AMA has been a pioneer in management. It started in the year 1956, a year ahead of the All India Management Association. The All India Management Association started in 1957. There were 2-3 local management associations which were pioneers well ahead of the All India Management Association. Bangalore was one, and certainly Ahmedabad is another. And Ahmedabad has been at the forefront of leading this whole movement of management. The number of times they have won awards for the kind of work they've done is absolutely exemplary. And that's why it's always a pleasure to come back here. And every time Mr. Nair reaches out, he is somebody who's worked tirelessly to build this great institution here. When I see this building, when I see this building, I went to the Japan center this evening. It's amazing, how much change AMA personally drives in this quest for management excellence. And I'm deeply, deeply always, humbled with their thinking, and that's why it's always a pleasure to come here. Management has become an attractive destination over the last 30, 40 years. And I'm going to speak only about India. If you look at India, in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, engineering and medicine were the big disciplines. So almost everybody wanted to get into either engineering or medicine, become a doctor, become a civil engineer, things like that. Other streams of engineering, like electronics and others, had not flowered by then. Come the 1970s and 80s, IIS became something very important. Okay, so you had a lot of people, a lot of the brightest and the best in the country moving into the IIS cadre, and the generation of secretaries, undersecretaries, and bureaucrats of the 60s and 70s were truly outstanding. That's what we saw. Then come 80s, we saw a huge surge into management. We saw in the 1960s the development of management institutes. IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta were the first to be established, in 1961. Over a period of time, about 10-15 years, you saw the importance of management. And as the first set of graduates from the 1960s and 70s made it to middle management, senior management levels in organizations, you saw the impact that they created. And hence, that became a role model for many people, and suddenly management education was a hugely attractive proposition. So attractive that in the world today, we have 12,000 to 13,000 business schools. Out of those 12,000, 13,000 business schools, in India, we have 3,000 to 4,000. So we have a quarter of the business schools in the world today. That's how attractive it is to the average Indian. In India today, we produce on an average, if you assume that those 4,000 schools are producing about 100 graduates a year. Let's take a conservative estimate, 100 graduates a year. We're producing 4 lakh MBAs every year, 400,000 MBAs a year. So there is a huge responsibility on all of us, whether it's the business school, whether it's the professor, whether it's the industry, or bodies like AMA, to ask ourselves, are our business schools, are our students, are our professors, is our methods truly improving? Are we developing higher quality? We will never get to an end point when we say we have 100% quality. We are the best. We will not, because it's a journey. It might take us 50 years or 70 years. But as long as we're improving in that direction, I think that's worth doing. And I think that's exactly what, activities like what Mr. Iyer is, sponsoring right now, or what the professor is doing right now. These are the kind of things which will spur us to provide better quality across the 400,000 students who are graduating, as well as the 3,000 to 4,000 business schools. Okay? That's what I would really look forward to, and that's what we are all here for. AMA and management research. I think this whole initiative by Mr. Iyer is absolutely fantastic. When I look at the local management associations, IMA has 63 local management associations. This is the first of its kind from any management association. Okay? Nowhere, either Chennai or Bangalore or Bombay or Calcutta or Delhi, no other local management association has taken such an initiative or has had such a patron like Mr. Iyer to start research in management. So that itself is a huge first, and I'm thankful to you, Mr. Iyer, as well as AMA, for having started this journey. And I really, as the past president of IMA, I really do hope that many other LMS pick up the same thing. Okay? What I see from the material which I have read, an access to a library which has 30,000 books. I had the pleasure of seeing it. Dr. Parash Karia's personal involvement in this, Dr. Sanjay Bayani's personal involvement in this, and the ability to be either independent or having a partner university. I think those are the highlights of this managed research and management program, and I think all are very, very good. What hopefully this will build in the doctoral students as well as the discipline of management is versatility, multitasking, and a multidisciplinary approach to problem solving. I think that's what it will hopefully deliver. And one of the things I feel very good about these kind of initiatives led by Mr. Iyer as well as AMA is, I think for a long time, and when I say a long time, I would say 70 years. For a long time, I'm not sure that academics has led business. And I'm a student of management. The last serious academician who led business management was Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker, in his search of the best in academics translated to business, wrote a wonderful book called The Concept of the Corporation. He wrote that book by going and working with General Motors for 2 years. Okay? At the end of that, he wrote that book. At the end of that, there were 3 innovations which came from that book, which are still present in organizations today. The first is called span of control. Drucker argued that the span of control for a manager should be about 7 to 8. The second is the concept of a profit center. He said GM is completely disparate. You need to break it down into profit centers, while the financial leverage was still held by Alfred Sloan. That was the second concept. And the third innovation which Drucker brought, which today also we practice it, I also heard that expression on stage today, is the concept of management by objectives or key result areas. He said every manager must have 5 things he impacts every year. These were 3 innovations Drucker brought in the 1930s. Okay. Then Deming was there in the 60s, definitely, and he influenced the whole practice of quality in the Japanese auto industry. But apart from these 2 significant ones, okay, we've had talk about re-engineering, we've had talk about other concepts, but I truly want to see academics doing a lot more to lead business and spur business in a very different way. Because I think today's challenges require that reflective nature from academics. The world is so quick and so fast-paced that most operating managers don't have time to even breathe and sit down and look at what's happening. The average life of a company, S&P 500 company in 1960 was 60 years. The average life of an S&P company today in 2015 is 12 years. 12. So when you think about that, the people who are running businesses 24/7. Okay, so research and being reflective is something that is not truly practiced by practicing managers today. So I think academics and bodies like this, like the PVR Iyer, research and management body, these are bodies which will hopefully help us reflect on some of the big challenges and issues that both society and business face. And that's what I would truly look forward to. And I think this whole exchange between industry and media, we've done. The case studies are an obvious one. We have lots of case studies. We have a lot of interns. People come from various schools to work in companies such as my company. Okay, we have a lot of forums like this where we interact and debate. But I think we need to crystallize that a lot firmer to take it in a new direction. And centers like this will hopefully help us move in that direction. I think the whole concept of research, the ability to state, refine, define, and then analyze a problem is something I think the professor put out, and I'm happy to see that, and I hope that we really pick some of the top problems or top challenges, as I would see, and which would be important for both business and society to resolve. And I would really look forward to seeing that, Prof. Now to my mentor and somebody I have a lot of regard for, Mr. PVR Iyer. He was the Silver Jubilee President of the Ahmedabad Management Association, 1981-83. He was the Silver Jubilee President. Okay. He was the 23rd President of the All India Management Association. He was the President of the All India Management Association in 1987-88. I was the President of the All India Management Association in 2012-13. I was the 47th President of the All India Management Association. I was the 6th multinational CEO President of the All India Management Association. He must have been, I think, number 2 or number 1. So in a journey of 55 years, there's only been 6 people who've been from non-public, non-Indian companies who have headed All India Management Association, and I think Mr. Iyer was the pioneer. That's one. While he was the Silver Jubilee President, he's a man with a huge golden heart. He was easily one of the most respected presidents. Okay. Apart from the fact that he was my predecessor by many years at the All India Management Association, I've had the privilege of knowing the family, and Govind is here, his son, another dear friend of mine for the last 20-30 years. Fantastic family. The Silver Jubilee President with the Golden Heart. What's the golden heart that he's possessed? He's given a lot of loans for MBA student in Gujarat University. That's huge, because the quality of a nation depends on the quality of its teachers and the quality of students. Okay, and if anybody can help with the quality of the students and help them, I think that's an absolutely noble gesture. That's something he's done. The second one is the progress of a country depends on the development of women. And Mr. Iyer set up the Dr. Lalita Iyer Center for Management of the Development of Women, which is another huge thing. I think Mao said that half the world is held up by women, or half the sky is held up by women. And we've seen this consistently in every single one of the 620 districts in India. Where the women's literacy is high, we've seen development to be high. Development in terms of family practices, development in terms of education, development in terms of health and sanitation practices. Okay? So very high correlation between development of women and the development of the nation. And I'm really happy that he's again pioneered that by putting across his contribution there. And of course today, the whole contribution towards research and management. At his age, and he's deeply involved. He has personally attended, I know, a number of the All India Management Association council meetings. It's always a pleasure to host him when I was president, always a pleasure to host him when I was the executive council member. He has a huge, huge presence every time he comes there, and he's got enormous respect from all the past presidents. I can think of the Jalans of this world, the Chugs of this world, every single person, the Sunil Alags of this world. Every single time we've had the All India Management Association meetings, he has a huge presence, and every single past president has a huge regard for him. So thank you, sir. He called me 3 months ago and said, hey Shiv, I want you to come and do this. I can never say no to him. So that's the reason I'm here. Okay, for you first, and then for AMA next. Okay, I'm deeply honored to be here. I'm deeply humbled to be here for all your contribution that you've made. And may your heart, may your golden heart get larger and larger and benefit students, AMA, women, and the new doctoral students. Okay? Thank you very much.